Welcome back to the Westmoreland Sports Network as we continue our coverage of our third annual Westmoreland County Wrestling Kickoff Show. We're now joined by head coach of the Franklin Regional Panthers, Matt Levy. Coach, welcome to our broadcast. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you guys for having me. It's always one of my favorite times of the year, so appreciate it.
For many of you who don't know, Matt also wrestled at the same time as George and I. He was a Jeanette Jayhawk back in the day, and you two were the same class, right? Matt and George?
No, I'm older than.
Oh, 1 year older? Okay.
Yeah.
And then Matthew went on to wrestle at West Virginia University, where he was a Division I All-American. Now, Matt, talk a little bit about your career with Franklin Regional. I know you were at Jeanette for a little while, but go ahead and tell us how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, this is my 5th year overall head coach, and been with the program now going on 10, 11 years. So starting to get into a little bit of groove here, and we just overall what a great program, great families. Our administration is great, and it's just a great place to be, and I think we kind of got things rolling overall.
Nice.
So looking at the success that you guys had last year, where do you see that going coming into this year? I know you got some studs back. You lost some guys last year. So I mean, kind of what's the framework of the lineup this year looking like?
This is interesting. This is probably our most mature team that I've had. I mean, we are just a lot of guys that we brought up 3 really good freshmen, but the rest of the team besides that it's kind of the first thing that struck me when we got back coming out of the long layoff that we had. Is I've been telling the guys we're too mature of a team to have any issues that you normally have with a young team. I mean, we're in the room, they work hard, they know the expectation. I think this is the best team we've had probably since Spencer Lee was a senior, and we finished 4th in the WPIL. So just a lot of maturity. The guys know the expectation. They know how to work. They expect a lot out of themselves.
Sorry about that. Had a little microphone difficulty, but we got it all fixed up. Matt, talk a little bit about some of those individuals. Obviously we could just talk for another 20 minutes about a lot of the teams that you've been a part of, the Spencer Lees, Maruka, Shields, and so on and so on. But talk a little bit about the kids that you have this year and some of those expectations individually.
Yeah, the great thing about this group is, we got, Carter Dybert and Finn Solomon, I think, are the 2 that, they've been in the state finals before. Carter's won a state title before. They obviously didn't have an ending to the season that they wanted last year, so, they are very excited to get back, and I feel that they have a lot to prove. But we have a lot of guys, in addition to that, like Garrett Thompson, that was the match away from the state tournament last year. Mario Sarnik coming from a layoff that's, an upperclassman. So there's a lot of guys I feel that they have kind of chips on their shoulder a little bit to prove. They're excited to get back and get started, and I think that they know they can kind of pave their own way going through the season.
So thinking of this year, right, and the changes that were made to the subsection, right? A lot of teams that were in your subset A and B kind of moved out, and they're not in that section anymore. So looking at those teams that are with you guys now, where do you see the Panthers kind of finishing up in your subsection?
It's we got Penn Trafford still on our side, which is next door to us, Plum. So we kind of just want to take, we can't control the teams that are in our section. We know that Penn Trafford is going to be very good, and Plum isn't up in their junior high has been very good for the last couple of years. So Kiski's on the other side. So again, we just kind of want to focus on, I think the big message for us, taking care of ourselves, doing the things that we need to do. Obviously we want to try to the section titles and everything, but I think the process of getting better every day and the results will take care of itself with our guys. I think if we can work hard, take care of what's in front of us, get better individually each day, ultimately we'll have a good team.
Coach, you said you've been at Franklin Regional now for around a decade, and obviously that culture at the beginning of your career there was highly competitive. Success or nothing, and it was win or nothing to those guys. Are you seeing a continuation of that culture in today's room?
Absolutely. Like I said, we have everyone on the team. They've been wrestling from a young age, and they've seen that group. They look on the wall. We have pictures up of our state champions. So, the path that those guys have laid, and those guys, I always say that group that went through, they're servers. Every time they're back, they come in the room and they want to kind of give to the tradition, and they're always, when they come, they're just unbelievable. And our guys want to kind of continue that same path. So it's important to them, and I think you're going to see a lot of success out of those individuals.
So, Coach, tell us a little bit about your feeder programs. You know, we had Coach Parse on the show a little bit before you, and he was kind of talking about the struggles that they're having, you know, at the middle school program, and potentially even at their JO program. We were over setting up for, and I can't remember what match it was last year. We were setting up over in Franklin's gym. I think it was your JO and maybe middle school guys had their ceremony and stuff where they went out on the mat, and there were like 100 kids there in the gym. So talk a little bit about your different feeder programs and kind of how, you know, I feel like that mindset of success kind of starts at a young age over at Franklin Regional.
Yeah, I think so. We've been fortunate. We got two. There's a lot of people that are obviously involved in the process, but years ago, even, you know, obviously before I was there, Ralph Petrarca, Dan Magaludis, kind of, you know, the program. There wasn't many kids left in the program. They kind of fought to keep the program alive, and since then they've had a group. Ralph actually took over our junior high last year, and I think that, you know, we have the best junior high coach. I mean, he cares about the program. Ultimately, at the junior high level, if you can get somebody, Ralph's goal is, hey, we want to get better wrestling, but ultimately we want to retain, keep our numbers there, make it fun, but also have the kids continue on the path to get numbers up to the high school. So, you know, Ralph cares about our program. If there's anything you need, hey, you know, we need this, he is willing to support it. And then Dan Magaludis being at the junior Olympic program with, you know, Mike Corsetti's there that was part of the program before. And again, Todd Smith, just a long list of guys that have been involved in the program for years upon years, and they truly care about the success of the program.
I think, you know, that caring is something that's so important right now. It's such a dynamic with the pandemic. Talk a little bit about how, you know, you guys have had to make the adjustments and how the kids are adjusting to those adjustments to keep a safe environment.
Yeah, you know, again, it's back to we're mature. I keep saying it, and they know if they want to have a season, we're grateful to be in the position where we can hopefully have a season and get through it. So they're willing to make all the necessary changes that we have to. If we got to wrestle with masks on, they're going to wrestle with masks on. If they got to, the big thing we're trying to focus on with our guys, you know, wrestling, it's about toughness, right? But some of these things here, we don't want to be so tough. If you have a little bit of, you know, something that would be any type of, we want you to take care of your body and take care of yourself so we can keep the whole team there. So it's kind of that shift in mentality that we've always, you know, as a wrestler been part of.
Yeah.
We're going to be tough if you're a little bit of this. But
don't push through this. Let's use common sense here and step away.
Let's use common sense. Ultimately, we want to have a team, be able to get through it. And I think that they know that. They're aware of it. And, you know, again, they just ultimately want to compete and have a chance to make their, you know, shot for a little bit of history of their own.
Now, looking at big picture, you know, and looking at the big picture of the season, obviously, you know, your athletes have their long-term goals. How is COVID going to affect kind of your strategy as a coach, right? Because now you're not going to really have a lot of those big tournaments and all those events where you could, you know, kind of make sure your athletes are peaking at the right time, right? How do you still ensure that they peak at the right time? And I know it's early to be thinking about peaking at the end of the season, but as a coach, I know you got to be thinking about that.
Sure, and it's certainly, I think, anything that when you go through this, it's kind of be adjustments and have to be willing to go through them. So, you know, we've been trying to piece together as the best schedule we can as far as getting dual meets in. I don't really, at this point, we don't have any individual tournaments unless the county tournament would still be on. So I just think it's, you know, identifying whenever certain guys need maybe something different compared to the team. Our coaching staff, I feel we brought Greg Sill's been here for a long time, wrestled at Edinboro. Tim Florian's been with us, who's one of our character coaches we have, which is important. And then Josh Maruka came back from Arizona State and is in the room. So, again, I think we have a great group of coaches that's been through it at the college level, and we can get a little more individualized if we need to.
Coach, we want to say thank you for joining us once again. Just like you, our fingers are crossed that we'll be in your gym broadcasting you.
Yeah.
I know we do a number of your matches each year. It's always very entertaining, very welcoming environment over there. We always love when we get to come over to Franklin Regional because we usually stop at Jiggers on our way when we're done. So, Coach, do you have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No.
No, keep going. We're good.
Oh.
We have some extra time.
I was just told by our production manager that we have extra time. So let's talk.
Awesome. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Tell us a story. What's happened in the room so far? Is there like a feel-good story? I don't know. I mean, I had to cue something up really quickly. We like to have fun on the Westmoreland Sports Network.
Yeah.
You can hear everybody laughing in the
I
background.
can tell a couple of stories.
Tell me a story.
I can tell a couple of stories about George and you over here from back kind of in our day. If we want to shift a little bit of, a couple of that way. But
I don't think that's the stories he's asking.
that's not a good time for.
Austin's over there. He's ready to hear them. Yep.
Like I said, we just going through. I think our biggest thing for us is just the maturity that we have as a team. That it's really kind of refreshing, kind of going into this year to know that we have. I mean, everybody's been through the process, So it's really. I feel like at this point going to be a lot easier on us as a coaching staff, and we can really, really, hopefully, be able to coach a lot more than worry about other. You guys coach and things that you would necessarily have to deal with kind of inexperience.
Now, with Dave wants a Morgantown story. He's a West Virginia and a Morgantown guy. I have a quick question before he tells that Morgantown story. Were the guys able to do any off-season competing with the pandemic?
Yeah, so we have, again, same thing. We got guys that, young guns, they run out of our room, and they haven't been, but they've still been running out of the Murraysville. So we have a lot of guys that go there. We do have some guys that go to the mat factory. So a lot of those guys have been continuing with their thing, and overall, most of our guys on our team are part of a club. Kind of the big one being the Young Guns, and they've done so much good for our program. It's like I said, along with the other ones, the Mat Factory with Isaac and them over there, they've been competing. They've been working hard as much as they can in a safe environment, and as much as they felt kind of individualized with their family that they could do. So yeah, they have been.
Well, Matt really teed that up nicely. Two of our biggest sponsors. We want to say thanks to Mat Factory and Young Guns Wrestling Club for their continuation of sponsoring our broadcast wrestling series each year. George, do you have one final question before we let them unleash a good Morgantown wrestling story?
So, what's Franklin's first event out of the gate this year?
So we are at our first one. We'll have a dual meet on the 21st against Woodland Hills, 23rd against Penn Hills, and then we'll be at the North Allegheny Duels over Christmas break.
Okay.
We were originally scheduled to go to Powerade, and then we ended up pulling out of there as a team just overall kind of felt that was the right thing to do between our administration, coaching staff, our AD, kind of a group decision that kind of keeping our kids' safety.
Responsible thing to do, right?
Yeah, at this point for us, that's what we felt was the best thing to do.
Okay. Dave wants to hear that Morgantown story. We're not going to let you leave until you tell us something good from the wrestling room in Morgantown. I know you were there among many, many greats. You wrestled along with Greg Jones, Donnie Jones. Vertus was a little bit older than you. Talk a little bit about the culture down at West Virginia and, how that has changed over the years.
Yeah, for me, again, when I remember, we always talk about being in the college room. And so George was actually a senior whenever I was a freshman in high school. So we actually wrestled a couple of times in college. So just like many of my teammates on my team, when I first came into West Virginia, we were a top 10 team for 2 straight years. So my redshirt year, I looked through it, and at 149, we had Billy Smith, another one of our good friends, ranked top 12 in the country. We also had Joe Carr, who I was redshirting behind, 7th in the country, Tom McMack, Greg Jones, who won 3 national titles. So I think I went through my first month and a half with probably less than 0 takedowns. Somehow they just took points away from me because I remember.
What were the scores?
Well,
I don't remember the scores,
yeah,
actually.
let's not talk. Let's not talk about that right now. No, we had some great battles. George ended up, I think he had a couple more wins over, a lot more wins probably than me. He had 3 wins, but we had some great competitions.
Yeah.
That was always fun, and we've grown to be great friends still to this day, and hang out family-wise. So it's awesome.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, 18th greens, ready to rock and roll right behind us.
Roll the mats out.
Well, hey, Matt, that was the alarm for our time with you today. I wanted to
Can we keep going?
Yeah, you giving me the go. Matt, thank you so much for coming in, sharing, the news, review of last year and what's to expect this year. We're going to keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll see you again here soon in your gymnasium.
Hey, we appreciate you guys so much. I know I got to watch Jeanette, our football team, in the state finals the whole way through. You guys do an awesome job in the wrestling. I mean, it's just you put our student athletes out there and are able to broadcast, a lot of their success they have. So we appreciate it, Franklin Regional. We're grateful for you
Thank you
guys.
for that. It's our pleasure always.
Yeah,
When we
thank you.
return on the Westmoreland Sports Network, we will be joined by Danny Boring, head coach of the Southmoreland Scotties. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Westmoreland Sports Network.